Qualities of zodiac signs, movable, fixed, and dual signs. Cancer, Part 4. Cancer is a movable or Kara sign, ruled by the moon and aligned with the water element. As a movable sign, it embodies Rajas Guna, the energy of motion, emotion, and initiation. But here, unlike Aries' fiery directness, the motion is more emotional, inward, and reactive. Cancer's movement is like the tide. It flows, recedes, and reshapes the emotional landscape. The result is a sign that's highly sensitive, responsive to its environment, and deeply affected by changes, both external and internal. As the Ascendant, Cancer gives a nurturing, protective, and emotionally driven personality. People with Cancer rising often lead with their feelings. Their motivations aren't necessarily logical or practical. They're guided by gut instinct and emotional resonance. Like all movable signs, they want to initiate, but they initiate in the realm of caring, connection, and emotional security. These individuals often appear gentle or reserved, but there's a powerful inner drive to create safety, especially for others. When Cancer rules the fourth house, as it does naturally, it reinforces the deep need for emotional anchoring. The home isn't just a physical place. It's a sacred emotional shelter. These individuals often move homes until they find the one that truly resonates, or they may frequently renovate or reshape their inner environment. Emotional security becomes the central theme. Without it, there's restlessness. The family bond, particularly with the mother or matriarch, plays a huge role in shaping their inner world. In marriage, Cancer in the seventh house, as for Capricorn Ascendant, brings nurturing and emotional reciprocity into the relationship. These individuals tend to marry for emotional reasons, not strategic ones. They're drawn to partners who are empathetic and sensitive, but the movable nature can sometimes lead to fluctuating relationship dynamics. There may be emotional ups and downs, or even changes in the structure of the partnership. They may also be caretakers in the relationship, offering much but expecting emotional resonance in return. Career-wise, Cancer in the 10th house, as in Aries Ascendant, drives one to take initiative in fields related to care, healing, nourishment, or emotional intelligence. This could include careers in psychology, education, hospitality, or medicine. However, their professional path may not be linear. There may be several shifts, motivated by the need to align the work with inner feelings. These people often need to feel that their work matters emotionally to commit fully to it. Cancer's movable quality also expresses through its deep connection to cycles, the lunar cycle in particular. These individuals may feel their moods shift with time, seasons, or even the lunar phases. Their life lessons often involve learning emotional resilience, how to move with feeling without becoming overwhelmed by it. Unlike Aries, which initiates through action, or Libra, which initiates through relationships, Cancer initiates through protection and bonding. Rajas Guna in Cancer doesn't just want action, it wants emotional movement. When balanced, this creates empathy, intuition, and nurturing leadership. But when excessive, it can result in mood swings, clinginess, or emotional overreaction. Since the moon rules Cancer and the moon is changeable by nature, emotional stability must be cultivated through grounding and consistent self-care. So when Cancer governs key areas like the Ascendant, the 4th, 7th, or 10th house, it signals that emotional responsiveness, caring intention, and intuitive movement are essential themes. The movement here is not just outward, it's deeply inward, navigating the changing tides of emotion and connection. Cancer doesn't rush ahead or resist. It flows, sensing when to hold on and when to let go. Changing energies of planets with qualities of zodiac sign. Part 4, Cancer with conjunctions. Cancer is a movable water sign, ruled by the moon and governed by Rajas Guna. It represents the emotional tides, receptive, intuitive, nurturing, and protective. Unlike Aries' bold Rajas that acts outwardly, Cancer's Rajas is inward. It moves through feeling, memory, and instinct. Planets placed here are filtered through sensitivity and a desire for emotional security. Cancer doesn't just initiate, it responds, reflects, and shelters. Conjunctions in Cancer can generate emotional wisdom, healing capacities, or attachment patterns depending on the planetary mix and house placement. Begin with Moon plus Mercury in Cancer in the first house. The Moon is at home here, and Mercury gains emotional intelligence. Together, they create a communicator who speaks from the heart, someone intuitive, expressive, and emotionally persuasive. This is a nurturing speaker or empathetic teacher. However, since Mercury is analytical and the moon is emotional, their union can lead to mood-based thinking or a tendency to overanalyze feelings. If supported by Jupiter, this forms a variation of Vaksiddhi yoga, granting eloquence and psychic perception. Sun plus Venus in Cancer in the second house blends identity and aesthetics in the house of speech, values, and wealth. Sun seeks pride, Venus seeks harmony. In Cancer, their union often gives a sweet yet authoritative voice, refined tastes, and a love for family-based traditions. These natives may derive self-worth from emotional connections and create wealth through beauty, caregiving, or food-based enterprises. If afflicted, it may cause conflict between self-expression and the desire to please. Mars-Jupiter in Cancer in the 10th house is notable, especially as Mars is debilitated in Cancer. Jupiter expands while Mars wants to act, but here Mars becomes cautious, acting through protective or emotionally driven means. Yet Jupiter, exalted in Cancer, uplifts the whole conjunction. These individuals may rise in careers that combine protection, education, or public welfare, like law, teaching, or healing. They act with conscience, not aggression. This pairing can form a soft-edged version of Guru Mangala Yoga, favoring service-oriented leadership. Place Saturn plus Moon in Cancer in the 4th house, and you get a complex emotional landscape. The Moon seeks flow and nurture, while Saturn introduces delay, caution, and karmic restraint. In the house of home and inner peace, this can point to emotional discipline, a reserved or responsible mother figure, or early emotional hardship that matures into deep inner strength. If the moon is waning and Saturn is strong, the native may feel emotionally burdened, but when supported, this creates steady inner wisdom. Venus, Mercury, Mars in Cancer in the 5th house mixes emotion, creativity, communication, and desire. The 5th house being the seat of romance and intelligence, this trio, tempered by Cancer's sensitivity, gives poetic or artistic brilliance. Venus refines, Mercury expresses, Mars adds passion. The result can be a romantic artist, musician, or emotionally articulate actor. However, Mars in Cancer may complicate desire with insecurity, so balancing action with emotional clarity becomes crucial. Sun plus Ketu in Cancer in the 7th house often creates internal detachment within relationships. The Sun wants recognition. Ketu rejects worldly attachments. In Cancer, this can suggest past life relational karma or an individual who marries more out of duty than desire. The native may be drawn to spiritual or emotionally complex partners or unconsciously sabotage relationships to protect emotional vulnerability. If the moon is strong and benefic, this pairing supports spiritual devotion through partnership. Rahu plus Mercury in Cancer in the 3rd house generates a deeply imaginative, strategic communicator. Mercury handles logic, Rahu intensifies desire and unusual learning. In the 3rd house of self-effort and media, this can produce writers, digital thinkers, or clever negotiators, especially in fields like advertising, politics, or therapy. Cancer adds instinctive intelligence. Decisions are not purely mental, but based on felt impressions. This pairing often gives mastery of soft influence. Jupiter-Saturn in Cancer in the 9th house unites expansion and restriction in the domain of Dharma and higher learning. Cancer gives this pair emotional commitment to belief systems. Jupiter expands spiritual ideals. Saturn insists they be lived, not just taught. These natives are often traditional but thoughtful, with moral depth. If Jupiter is strong, it forms Dharma Karma Adipati Yoga, if ruling 9th and 10th, leading to high ethics in professional life. Teaching, law, or religious roles are favored. Moon's Mars Rahu in the 6th house brings intensity to health, service, and emotional control. Moon gives emotion, Mars adds willpower, and Rahu inflames both. This can create someone who excels in emotionally intense work, medicine, healing, crisis management. If unbalanced, it may cause internalized anger or emotional reactivity that somatizes in the body. But with awareness, this can produce a healing warrior, someone who fights for others' well-being with emotional drive. Venus Ketu in Cancer in the 12th house reflects detached longing. Venus seeks intimacy and beauty. Ketu spiritualizes or cuts attachment. In Cancer, this points to deep karmic love patterns, artistic dreams, or private emotional worlds. These natives may have secret romances, spiritual artistic gifts, or attraction to foreign aesthetics. If Venus is strong and unafflicted, it gives spiritual refinement and compassionate withdrawal. If afflicted, there can be confusion in relationships or subtle emotional loss. Conjunctions in Cancer soften, sensitize, and internalize planetary forces. The Kara quality ensures movement, but it is movement led by emotion, not ego or ideology. Cancer's watery receptivity makes conjunctions here act like tides. They come in waves, influencing security, care, and feeling. These natives may not assert loudly, but their emotional impact can last deeply. When aligned with higher feeling and guided purpose, conjunctions in Cancer generate empathy, protective leadership, and profound creative healing. Changing energies of planets with qualities of zodiac sign. Part 4, Cancer, continued with more conjunctions and yogas. Cancer, as a Kara Rashi ruled by the moon and infused with Rajas Guna, brings fluidity, sensitivity, and emotional responsiveness to all planetary conjunctions placed here. This is a sign where planets don't move with force, they flow with feeling. Cancer absorbs energies, giving them intuitive depth but also vulnerability. Conjunctions in this sign often produce strong emotional intelligence, but may also bring mood-driven behaviors, karmic attachments, or subconscious motivations. When supported by Jupiter or a strong moon, the combinations yield compassion, creative nourishment, and spiritual devotion. Sun plus Mercury-Jupiter in Cancer in the first house forms a powerful Trikona yoga if these planets rule key angular or trinal houses. The Sun gives identity, Mercury gives intellect, and Jupiter brings vision. In Cancer, this trio creates a nurturing yet expressive personality, a protective communicator with moral clarity. These individuals are often charismatic teachers, emotionally wise speakers, or spiritual educators. Mercury and Jupiter together can form Saraswati Yoga, if unafflicted, enhancing learning and literary gifts, especially when used to uplift others. Mars, Venus, Saturn in Cancer in the 10th house blends ambition, refinement, and responsibility in the domain of career. While Mars is debilitated in Cancer and Saturn may feel emotionally stifled, Venus tempers their extremes with poise. Together, this combo can create individuals who work in healing professions, aesthetic fields with technical precision, or emotionally sensitive leadership roles. These are career builders who care, protect, and endure. If the moon is well placed, they can lead with integrity and aesthetic intelligence. If not, the mix may cause emotional conflict between drive and restraint. Moon plus Rahu in Cancer in the 4th house, Moon in its own sign and Rahu intensifying it, creates heightened emotional perception. The 4th house represents home, roots, and emotional core. This conjunction often leads to a deep karmic attachment to the mother, homeland, or ancestral patterns. The mind becomes extraordinarily intuitive, sometimes psychic. It can also form Graha dosha if Moon is weak or afflicted, resulting in emotional obsession or anxiety. When balanced, this placement supports spiritual healing, counseling, or emotionally intelligent political leadership. Sun plus Ketu Mercury in Cancer in the 2nd house is a refined yet self-effacing combination. Ketu diminishes the Sun's ego, while Mercury sharpens the intellect. In the 2nd house of speech and sustenance, this combination often yields soft-spoken but wise individuals. Their words carry spiritual depth. There may be disinterest in wealth or a tendency to give away resources. If well supported, this is the signature of a spiritual counselor, writer, or minimalist philosopher. If afflicted, it can show detachment from family or difficulty asserting personal values. Jupiter plus Venus Rahu in Cancer in the 11th house forms a potent and magnetic social yoga. Jupiter expands, Venus attracts, and Rahu amplifies both. Cancer channels their powers into emotional resonance. These individuals are beloved in social groups, especially when working with nurturing causes, arts, or inclusive education. This can form a modified Dana Yoga if 2nd or 11th lords are involved, bringing wealth through networks. If not disciplined, this combination may create indulgent spending or excessive emotional dependency on peer validation. Moon plus Saturn in Cancer in the 6th house creates a profound emotional battle between nourishment, Moon, delay, Saturn, and detachment, Ketu. The 6th house of service, enemies, and health becomes a battleground for inner emotional clarity. This can suggest karmic duties toward caregiving or healing, especially when Saturn supports structure and Ketu points toward spiritual detachment. If unaided, it may indicate emotional suppression or inherited emotional illness. But if the moon is strong, it produces a deeply dedicated servant of humanity, possibly a healer who works through loss and emotional transmutation. Mars plus Mercury's Rahu in Cancer in the third house blends boldness, intellect, and strategic intensity in the house of communication and courage. This trio makes for quick-witted, verbally fearless, and emotionally strategic individuals, especially in fields like journalism, public relations, or negotiations. The risk lies in emotional manipulation or overuse of cleverness. If Jupiter aspects, it transforms into a tactful yet morally clear communicator, capable of inspiring collective change through emotionally resonant words. Jupiter plus Moon Mars in Cancer in the fifth house is a beautiful combination of nurturing intelligence. Moon and Jupiter form the exalted version of Gaja Kesari Yoga, a classic yoga of emotional nobility and wisdom. Mars adds passionate expression. In the fifth house of children, creativity and intelligence, this combo can produce educators, spiritual performers, or compassionate leaders. They have intuitive intelligence and protective love, especially for children or vulnerable groups. This is an ideal yoga for counselors, teachers, or parenting coaches. Sun plus Saturn in Cancer in the seventh house can bring karmic themes in marriage and public life. The Sun seeks authority, Saturn imposes limits. Cancer makes both more emotional and internal. These natives may attract older or responsible partners or marry under karmic pressure. Publicly, they may struggle with authority or partnerships early on, but develop steady leadership qualities through life. When supported by a strong moon or Jupiter, it indicates a dharmic sense of service through contractual relationships. Venus Ketu Mercury in Cancer in the eighth house creates spiritual and artistic refinement in hidden domains. The eighth house governs mystery, psychology, and transformation. Venus brings beauty, Mercury insight, and Ketu detachment. Together in Cancer, this may yield a gifted astrologer, dream interpreter, or tantric artist, someone who translates emotional undercurrents into subtle wisdom. It may also indicate hidden love affairs or karmic debts in intimate relationships. If unafflicted, this yoga supports mystical scholarship and emotionally intelligent esotericism. Conjunctions in Cancer do not act through external events alone. They shape the internal experience, the emotional tone, and the intuitive rhythm of life. When well supported, these pairings produce intuitive teachers, empaths, spiritual protectors, and emotionally wise professionals. When afflicted, they reflect karmic entanglements, mood-based patterns, or emotional vulnerabilities that must be lovingly processed. Cancer, as a Kara sign, ensures these emotions are not stagnant. They move, they evolve, and they can, with care, be turned into pathways of healing and devotion.